So exactly a month before, PhoneBuff did a speed test between Exynos and Snapdragon variants of S20 models, and as we all know, the test proved that Exynos 990 is an abomination on the name of flagship processors. Of course, Samsung received a lot of hatred for that, and to cover this up, the company was speculated to be working on a newer and an improved version of Exynos 990 that would be called 992. Now before we begin with the info, let me remind you that this processor is gonna be the powerhouse of Note 20 phones, so it's definitely important for Samsung to make it work. The company already shifted to AMD for GPU, and we saw the benchmarks and how promising they were, as they almost bring a crack to Adreno 650 on Snapdragon 865. But because of the reason that CPU is more important than GPU, what about it? Well, ARM has announced the new Cortex A78 CPU as well as Mali G78 GPU, and also a wildcard entry which is the almighty Cortex X1. A lot of confusing names, but let's keep it simple and begin with Qualcomm's strategy against Exynos. You see, Snapdragon chipsets are different from Exynos in one aspect, and that is CPU architecture. Where Samsung uses stock cores for Exynos, Qualcomm implements Gyro cores to enhance the already powerful CPU cores. In simple words, Qualcomm is way too far in CPU department, and even if they lose the GPU one, they cannot be outperformed. Samsung recently shut their research on M cores because the company realized that they're just wasting billions on these, as they currently have no solution to overcome the heating issue. And also, ARM is making Cortex X1 ready to boost up the numbers. There's really no need of doing that. Now if you paid attention to words, you might know this by now that Samsung will use Cortex X1 as a part of Exynos 992. In theory, Cortex A78 is 20% more efficient and powerful compared to previous gen A77, while the X1 gets it up by 30%. The Mali G78 is also 25% faster and more power efficient than its predecessor, so if we believe Exynos 992 is gonna have this to bring improvements, which is indeed the case, Qualcomm stands no chance of outperforming Samsung's game. Honestly, it's because Qualcomm is not gonna give up Gyro cores for X1, and also Apple, that currently dominates the market with the help of A-series Bionic chip, gonna do it either. So it simply marks an opportunity for Samsung to compete with other giants in this aspect. This also confirms the fact that Exynos 992 will be fabricated on a 5nm platform, and for now just forget about comparison between other processors and recall the fact Samsung used to be the manufacturer for Apple and Qualcomm for processing, but they migrated to TSMC for obvious reasons. Now, as Samsung is again gaining the spot, it's possible for us to see a battle of processing machines in a few months, because Google has already made a deal with Samsung where they'll opt for Exynos chips instead of Qualcomm Snapdragon ones on their Pixel phones. The migration of companies like that is gonna bring competition and kick innovation in line while keeping the cost down, which is ultimately good for us. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace.